Hey guys, it's me Spencer, and I just want to quickly say before the video starts that if my voice sounds weird, it's probably because of my cold or my allergies or whatever. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before the video starts. Sorry.
Hello everybody, it's me Spencer, and today I got some really awesome news to talk about Endeavor for some pretty big developments been making on the game. All the current changes and what's being added. I'm actually gonna take this off so I can hear it, and I'll get rolling right into it. So I'm trying to think about where to start because from the last time I released the demo, which was like when, almost last year, November 16th, 2021. Ever since then, there hasn't been a release for, there hasn't been new content for the game, and the reason why is because I've been working on, obviously more of the game, but I've been trying to take it in different directions to where it should go. As a video game, significant changes are being done. First thing is, and this is something I just added last night, there's now light controller support, so you can actually play this game with a controller. It still needs work done. It can be weird and buggy, but it honestly feels great to play with a controller versus mouse and keyboard. I don't really know what it is. I think it's just because it feels simpler to play, but that's a pretty big thing that has been added as of recently. And of course, I've got allergies again.
He's in, boys! He did it! He said it!
So I'm still stuffed up. I might sneeze during this, which would be a shame, but whatever. I might not really want my microphone actually, because I think that my phone audio is actually going to be better than this. So I'm just going to ditch that altogether. So a couple of things before I get to showing more of the game. The intro cutscene I'm going to change up a little bit. For obvious reasons. It's definitely more dated. The art is decent, but it could be a lot better. I think I can make it into something a bit more interesting. Currently, let's start with the new rooms. So if you remember the first level, the forest level, that I'm going to touch up on a lot more and add a bit more game design stuff, because the purpose of that level is to get the player used to certain mechanics of the game and how it plays. So the player, he attacks rather slowly. That is on purpose. It's not the biggest sword in the planet, but it's still a big old heavy sword. But I mean, it's kind of a lame excuse for it to be hard anyway. But basically, the first level is getting you introduced to the game and just how it plays and how the enemies feel, how everything is. It doesn't have to be some extravagant, new groundbreaking rules of game design. But now we're starting to get into the more fun parts of the game in terms of its development. I'm adding obviously new levels, but even more than that, an overworld basically. So in my previous article that I had put out based on how the project is going, I had put there is going to be an overworld. And basically, originally the overworld was going to be huge. It was going to be giant. And it's still going to keep that core fundamental, but there was a big problem with it. So this was the original size, 5,000 by 5,000. It was huge. The idea was neat, but it's going to be way too taxing on people's computers. And the way how I had it set up, it wasn't smart. And then the hugest room, 10,000 by 10,000, we were going to have the four main, I'm going to say biomes for now. They're not biomes, but four main places put together, and the player can just go to those places anytime that they want. But the problem with that, first, it was on the game design flaw. I feel like it's supposed to be done in a certain order, kind of like how so much in the Zelda games do it. I might have it done out of order regardless, because I'm curious of how that would go. But now, because of these experimental game design stuff and blah blah blah, I've instead just changed it into a very kind of like how Legend of Zelda 2 plays, but obviously better, because I don't want my game to be like Legend of Zelda 2 isn't really bad, but compared to the first game, obviously it's bad. And one thing I was going to do was take out the demo levels altogether, because I just kind of felt like that it just wasn't going to fit well. But then I thought that was going to be a bad idea, because where does the player get their tutorial on how to play the game, get introduced to what levels are going to be like? I just feel like it's very necessary to have the tutorial levels, so I'm going to keep those, but I'm going to redesign them a little bit to make it a little bit better, because I don't want people who have played the demo already to go and play the game and then be like, oh, well, this is just the same darn thing, and then they have to get through it and then finally get to the new content that hopefully that they will enjoy. But basically the overworld, you're going to be able to encounter enemies and fight them, and your player can now level up, or you're supposed, not really your player, but the player can now level up, and that's pretty big, at least to me. Because the leveling system is going to change how the game was supposed to be in the first place. Enemies were just going to stay at a certain strength along with the player. It was just going to play in a weird even setting. But with leveling up, I think it's going to add a very interesting way to play the game now. Right now, there's up to 20 levels made, and each level cap gets increased by 110. Just add a little bit of a challenge to level up each time. So by the time you get to level 10, you need to get 1,000 experience. I think that's pretty fair, if you ask me. Don't worry if that's like ends up being like a really unbalanced, weird, or unfair part of the game. That can always be changed. I mean, this isn't even going to stay as it is right now. Basically, I just needed a way to where if the player kills an enemy, they can gain something out of it besides maybe a drop of gold. Because the problem is, the game's core mechanic is fighting. There's a lot of enemies. And this, I'm going to get to this in a little bit, but the biggest problem that I face with playing this game is, man, this could get boring, regardless of how amazing the story is or how cool each enemy is designed. So long as it starts and ends the same way, it's going to be boring. So there's a couple ideas that I have to really like bring the game to life a bit more. I'm gonna use my controller, but the problem right now is, how do we keep the combat engaging? How do we make it so where the player is actually eager to get back into fighting the enemies? Because once again, it's a very core mechanic. So one example that I like to bring in for like interesting enemies is Dawes. The guy that you fight in the snow area. He's like the rogue knight. He's pretty strong. He's honestly my favorite enemy I've ever made, and even like almost a year after development, I've still yet to I haven't made another enemy ever since him. He's kind of complex. He has all kinds of different attack moves. He has a second face. He's really the coolest boss that I've made. And yes, I haven't even started making the other bosses. Well, I started designing one, but I haven't made the programming or anything like that. It's all just been programming work for other utilities of the game. And most significantly, the enemies themselves. There's going to be a huge variety. We're already looking at... I'm going to pause this real quick. We're already looking at an NPC enemy. We have different places where the enemies are like separated: forest, cave, castle interior, castle area, overworld. Obviously, overworld is going to have a ton of enemies. We're making goblin enemies, different kinds of goblins. Goblins have different weapons. Ogres that will also, be in certain parts of the overworld that you don't just encounter them out of the blue. There'll be a special enemy. There will be special enemies. There'll be special enemies in the parts of the overworld where you're at. It's going to be like I don't want the experience to constantly change, but I want it to add. Because if it's not adding and exploring new ways to make the game interesting, then it's not going to be fun. I mean, the core thing about a game, and I could be wrong in this, is you play a video game to beat it, right? It isn't just for one. I mean, you can play it for any reason you feel, but I play video games to eventually beat them, to build a character, to get a sense of accomplishment of, yes, I defeated this game. I played Elden Ring as it recently, and I do have my beef with it. I don't mind it. It's a pretty awesome game, and honestly, one of the best games that has been made recently by a AAA company that isn't buggy, broken, or stupid. And it actually exceeded my expectations. It's a great game, but there's a couple of things I disagree with as a game designer and developer. But honestly, I've made one or two games. I could see it a different way. Honestly, don't take my opinion for God's word. Okay, it's not. I'm not right all the time. But what I want for this game is to be fun. I want fighting enemies to be fun. I want to be reminiscent of my favorite manga series, Berserk, which I just made a video about, but it's returning, so go watch that if you haven't. Stuff like that. I just want it to be a great experience for everyone that plays it. And obviously not everyone's going to have the best experience, because this game is my second game I've ever made. It's got its quirks, it's got its bugs, but I really think that it's a special project, at least to me. I put a lot of time and effort, and I do want to see it take off and people really enjoy what I put together. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to enjoy it, and that's honestly perfectly fine, because if I hear those constructive criticisms, not just any, because not every criticism is constructive, I can learn how to better my game and make a better product for people, not just as a game designer and developer, but also as a programmer, because I went to college for 2 years to become a computer programmer for companies and stuff like that. I'm currently not working anywhere, but that's for a whole other reason. And right now, I'm playing the game, and I'm just doing it on the controller. I'm probably going to show some gameplay of, like, you know, the game, and then me playing the controller. It feels great, to be honest with you. I'm really impressed on how well it plays. I was kind of expecting it to be a little clunky, and it is. I'll even show like what some of the problems are. But this version is really fun. I'm hoping I can like make it a little bit more accessible. I don't think I can get like another, because I plan on releasing a third demo, and the third demo will include the first 3 levels, and then a first version of the overworld map, which I'll show here in a little bit. And the reason why I'm releasing a third demo before I go to actually starting the full game is to know what people. I want to know what people think. I want to know how people feel about the game, to see what works and what doesn't. Because once again, this is a game that is heavily inspired by Berserk. And I mean, if you couldn't tell by the main character, the way how it looks, the whole gimmick with him having a heavy sword, which I'm about to get to that because I was going to talk about combat styles, but I want people to play the game and give me their feedback, really. I'm just wanting to know what works and what doesn't. Anyway, a significant change is going to be happening soon. It'll be difficult, and I'm aware of that. The player is going to have different weapons, different styles, different armors. I'm actually going to let the player change the main character a little bit. The main character will remain as Endeavor, obviously, but Endeavor will be able to change his armor, change the kind of weapons he uses. So, for example, he uses a 2-handed greatsword. I was going to have him use it the entire game and change the weapon every so often, so he can get like a special version of that sword, and then like a master sword almost. I feel like that's going to be a problem, because for one, there's a certain way you play as this character. With a 2-handed weapon, it swings slowly. Even like when you're not engaged in combat and you swing it, it seems fast, but when you're engaging with fast enemies that run at you and you miss the timing, you get hurt. It can be annoying for a lot of people. And so I totally understand that. So I'm going to let the player be able to choose what kinds of weapons they can use. So we can get like a knife build, a sword build, a bow and arrow build, stuff like that. I want some variety for the player so they can actually choose a little bit what they want. But other than that, if you like this video, obviously leave a like. That helps out a lot to know what kind of videos I should and shouldn't make, or that I feel like making. But if you have any like suggestions or desires for things for this game, if you want something to be in this game, please let me know. And if you want, I mean, I'm curious what you guys think. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I don't know when this next version of the demo will be out. It's still very early into creating the overworld area, and I'll show it right now because it will change. But oh boy, I'm gonna restart the game. Currently, this is what the overworld looks like. The player's sprite is smaller. There are enemy encounters. There are village encounters that you can just see right there. You can interact with the villages. You can sleep in beds. You get health back. You can get shops and stuff like that. And there will be more items. So the test the bottle just to see if everything works properly. I need to fix up the picking up things as well and interacting objects. It's very annoying to not be able to press A and it immediately does it. You have to be just right. But obviously, right now everything's working decently. The overworld isn't completely done yet, obviously. There's going to be a lot of stuff I'll need to add, so I throw the demo out there. Because I want something for people to play. I want something interesting, I want something fun. And I want something that gains some momentum and popularity, because I need this game to get something going for it, so I know what to do. Otherwise, I'm gonna put out a game and people might not like it because I don't know what I should and shouldn't do. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do everything that I said before, and if not, whatever, that's alright. Thank you for watching anyway. It's greatly appreciated. And I hope everyone has a great day, evening, night, whatever, great year. And I'll catch you in the next video.